Hello and welcome to another Chanel video. It's a brand that I love to cover because I actually do think their skincare is quite underrated, and although I probably don't look like the target Chanel customer, it's just a brand that I love anyway. A lot of it is nostalgia, but I really respect a brand that has been around for this long, and I feel like they truly stay true to the codes of the house, not only in their fashion but just in the presentation of everything. And in this world, or in the society that we're in now, everything is so throwaway. People jump on any trend they want and every trend they see, but I actually feel like Chanel is still a trendsetter, and I just think their skincare deserves to be embraced in the same way their other beauty products are. The makeup seems to be doing really well. And just to keep ranting, I guess part of the reason I do film these videos is because Chanel is very good at image, but I think everybody, even if you don't look like the ideal Chanel customer, can still enjoy the textures, the effort they put into sensoriality. You don't need to own a bag from them, you don't need to own their ready-to-wear. Sometimes just a piece of skincare, like from their new Éclat Premier line, is enough to be that little touch of luxury in your life. Or at least that's how I view things. One of my philosophies overall is finding happiness in the small things, and sometimes that's a cleanser or an essence. Super long intro, I'm so sorry. Let me get straight into the product chat. Eclat Premier is a fairly new collection from Chanel, just launched probably a few weeks ago at the time I'm filming this. It is designed to revive skin's radiance. While I don't think Chanel have formally addressed this, I'm pretty sure that Eclat Premier has been brought out as a replacement for what used to be known as Leblanc. And I say used to be, but Leblanc is still available. Essentially, Eclat Premier is an updated formula range, new ingredients, and new textures. From what I can tell, Chanel have been discontinuing equivalent products from Leblanc to Eclat Premier. So for example, once this new cleanser from Eclat Premier came out, the Leblanc cleanser disappeared from their website. And they also had like a watery lotion in Leblanc that has also disappeared from the website, replaced with this new essence. I assume Chanel will continue to roll out new products within the Eclat Premier collection. And as those new products come out, I guess there's no reason for them to have both collections. And so eventually Leblanc will probably entirely disappear. At the time of filming this video, Chanel have launched two products in the Eclat Premier collection. The first is the Mousse cleanser and also the Bright Milky essence. I was kind of surprised to see them launch without a serum or moisturizer, because those tend to be the flagship products of any skincare routine. These products are both kind of the prep step. They did, however, launch some additional complexion products that I won't be addressing or talking about in this video, but this discussion will only be on the skincare. Like with most luxury brightening collections, Eclat Premier does seem to be targeting the Asian region in the marketing, although there's definitely nothing in here that would preclude everybody else from also using these products, and it's really a focus on pigmentation and just evening skin tone overall. Despite Chanel's brand recognition, they're actually kind of humble about their achievements and even like the investment they put into scientific technology. Just the level of production quality and also testing involved is probably above most brands, and it's something that I think is overlooked on social media very regularly. Just because a brand isn't loud doesn't mean they aren't doing a lot of the work in the background. It is my view that Chanel is one of the most advanced skincare companies in the world. So let me properly start this video by first discussing some of the new technology involved in this collection. Chanel has a world-first partnership with LabSkin that has developed 3D skin printing, or specifically 3D bioprinted skin models, to be able to test the efficacy of their ingredients and products. One of the standout features of this technology is that historically bioprinted skin has been able to replicate the epidermis, essentially reconstructing the top layers of the skin. Well, this particular technology can also reproduce the dermis, so we're going much deeper than you typically see in skin models. This allows for a much more thorough understanding of the process of pigmentation, and then also how ingredients might facilitate brightening outcomes. Essentially, bioink has been developed that actually contains melanocytes. This in turn causes a spot of pigmentation to appear in these skin samples as they mature. The goal of all of this is to reproduce cellular and molecular characteristics, being then able to resemble in vivo observations. This would be in lieu of the more common in vitro cosmetic testing. Theoretically, this type of technology would then lead to more reliable and reproducible outcomes. And hopefully from the consumer side, that leads to like properly effective product. I suspect that these first two products from Éclat Premier aren't going to showcase like the best or maximum potential of this technology that Chanel is using. So I do think we'll probably see more impressive stats as we go into more treatment products moving forward. As I said at the start of this video, both of these products are more prep step products, and they really set the base for effective results moving forward. Also, I always like to remind people that cosmetic brands like Chanel, they are limited in the information they can supply to the public. The claims they make around these products do have to be quite vague. The language does have to be quite fluffy. It's not just a marketing thing, it's kind of imposed from a regulatory perspective. Basically, regulations prevent brands like this from making any direct clinical outcomes or any direct claims related to cellular and molecular activity. This would position these products into drug territory, and then we wouldn't be able to buy them as a cosmetic. This is actually why it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when maybe general influencers, even a lot of doctors, they often make general blanket statements that luxury products are a waste of money. And while I absolutely agree that pretty much across the board, luxury brands are overpriced and they do charge too much, and certainly more than they would ever need to even maintain reasonable profit margins, it doesn't mean that the products themselves are useless. So yes, expensive, but useless, no. Pricing is ultimately a personal decision, so I would never sit here and also say that Chanel is the best must-have brand, everything else is not as good, because that's not true either. There are great products at all different price points. But there are other things at play when we arrive at pricing. So I mentioned the scientific investment that Chanel participates in. We'll also discuss some additional sourcing and quality of ingredients, but also just things like brand value, new texture development, and even down to packaging. All of that does actually matter despite what people say. And I think truly Chanel invests in startups, in new technological advancement that other brands could only dream of and simply don't have the budget to do. So it's easier to throw stones when you're not in a position to really be in the same lane. I said what I said. Moving on to specific discussion of the two new actual products, and I'll start with the Éclat Premier Bright Milky Essence. I think Chanel absolutely nailed this product, and it's actually become one of my favorite launches of skincare overall this year, and probably one of Chanel's best products. As a general overview, Bright Milky Essence is advertised as a water fresh essence, simply designed to be applied after cleansing, not unlike a toner. The very interesting thing about this product is that it's far, far less fluid than I was expecting. It's really not watery at all. For some reason, I just thought it would come out like a watery texture. This actually dispenses exactly like a fluid moisturizer. It has a fairly rich starting skin feel that at first feels very moisturizing, almost like you are actually applying a layer of moisturizer. But then it's like the texture breaks and it ends up feeling truly refreshing and hydrating, and ultimately lands on the skin in a really light and layerable way. It's a super unique and enjoyable product to use, and it does feel hydrating without leaving any type of like noticeable stickiness. It doesn't feel oily, and I can't sense any level of film left on my skin. When I first saw the texture like in the palm of my hands, I was kind of concerned it would be a little bit too heavy and maybe like block the application of other products. But once it actually sinks in, it's like feather light. The main claim around Bright Milky Essence relates to it preserving and reviving skin radiance. I interpret this as having like a protective action on the skin, probably by way of antioxidant potential, and then also some level of pigmentation fighting to even out skin tone. The two ingredients here are Premier flower extract. This is also known as ylang ylang, or Cananga odorata flower extract. Again, sorry about the pronunciation. Chanel does often lead with a plant extract as their key sort of ingredient story, or like the key pillar of a certain collection. But the main point of difference here is that this isn't just any flower extract. It actually comes from Chanel's own Open Sky laboratory. Therefore, the resulting extract is handled by Chanel and processed by Chanel for Chanel products. So the whole concept of dupes or whatever, it's simply doesn't apply. This Premier flower extract has antioxidant polyphenols and fatty acids, which aids the claim of skin preservation. But interestingly, there is actually some general information out there about the additional properties of ylang ylang or Premier flower, and that's that it does have a reputation of acting as a natural tyrosinase inhibitor, which makes sense as to why Chanel would want to include this particular plant extract in as sort of one of the key ingredients, because it's both antioxidant but also helps with pigmentation. Especially if Chanel is able to actually grow, harvest and control this extract, it stands to reason that the standardization of like the actual active molecules would be quite high, and therefore would potentially truly act as an active in this formula rather than something that might just be there for label claim. The next feature ingredient is something that we're all familiar with, niacinamide. I know people on social media are sometimes a bit over niacinamide because it does appear in a lot of different products, but ultimately it is truly one of the best, most well-studied, most easily tolerated ingredients with a lot of action and scope in the skin. It just has the potential to help so many different skincare concerns, so I don't understand why people want to be resistant to it. It is actually one of the ingredients that is most likely to lead to a visible skin difference. So it's one of the easiest and cost-effective ways for brands to achieve their claims. One thing to note is that Chanel is calling it pure niacinamide, which is interesting terminology, and we don't see this phrasing used too often. Something that you might not know is that most cosmetic ingredients are sold with different grades, and they have then different associated processing and also costs involved. It's actually quite difficult to get a fully pure ingredient during the production process, and niacinamide, like with other things, is subject to various qualities, just general different grades of purity. One impurity that can be found in the production of niacinamide is called niacin. This is known to cause skin irritation and redness, and sometimes even a burning sensation. So that's not a quality of the niacinamide in itself, it's just part of what happens in the production process. Now ingredient suppliers do try their best to remove this as part of the ingredient that they then on-sell. From what I understand, a lot of these skin issues really only start to present themselves if the level of niacin is above 0.5%. And I believe the baseline kind of tolerance for cosmetic grade niacinamide, which you're probably seeing in most brands, is around the 0.1% range. So pretty much it would be unlikely to find any product on the market that's using niacinamide with a high level of impurity in it. You'd hope that most brands are reaching for at least a cosmetic grade. However, and this is where we come back to Chanel, there are actually now some suppliers that are touting their niacinamide with an even higher purity, not at the standard 0.1%, but as low as 0.01%. So that's actually quite a significant difference. Whether or not people like consumers would notice a difference between these types of niacinamide is hard to say, but potentially if you've experienced problems with niacinamide in other products, something like this and having a highly purified version could be useful. It's just a way to knock out the potential of irritation even more. Now, Chanel isn't the only brand that has touted using pure niacinamide in some of their marketing, so this, as far as I know, is not actually a brand exclusive. It's just kind of like a good to know thing if you happen to have easily sensitized skin, because this type of product is designed to kind of cater to that even more. You know, I think people always end up blaming ingredients like fragrance if they experience skin irritation, but there are actually so many other things going on in a formula that you never truly know the source of what might have irritated your skin. So the reason I'm mentioning all of this is just an example of not jumping to conclusions, and you can't ever blame one ingredient in isolation, because the overall quality of a product actually matters a lot, and the overall blend of ingredients in what percentage, in what delivery system, all of that matters. So sometimes it's the things that we don't see on the label that could inadvertently be causing the issue. As far as the skin brightening or tone evening claims, niacinamide is known to inhibit the transfer of melanin in the skin. This is alongside having an anti-inflammatory effect. It also helps to control sebum production and also generally acts as an antioxidant. Based on the position of niacinamide on the INCI list, it does seem to be used in a functional level. The final feature ingredient is a ferment extract. Chanel doesn't specifically name it though. I believe just by looking at the INCI list, it's probably referring to the yeast extract. Unfortunately, yeast extract is quite a generic name, so it's hard to isolate exactly what they mean. But generally speaking, yeast extract is known to contain a lot of different vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, and this together leads to more moisturization in the skin. I've also seen some suggestion that yeast extract can act as a biosurfactant. This would then in turn have the ability to potentially reduce surface tension in the skin. So I wonder if this means that Chanel are also using this yeast extract as a bit of like a penetration enhancer to further improve the efficacy of both the niacinamide and also the Premier flower extract. Overall, I think this is a really well-designed product with a really unique and just refreshing texture, and it's super easy to slot in because it essentially works like a toner or essence. It's the type of product that I think would be great to explore if you want to like just delicately and elegantly boost brightening properties in your skincare routine. I don't think this would lead to like incredible pigmentation fighting results, but it absolutely does have the potential to help. And I think if you're already on a pigmentation fighting journey and you might have a few other products with other ingredients that are known to help against dark spots, then this is the type of product that would be a great complement to that. Or if you're somebody that's maybe targeting things like redness, sallowness in the skin, and you don't have actual specific dark spots, this is the type of essence that would be just good for actual skin tone. I've almost dedicated this whole video to the essence, so I haven't given myself much time to discuss the cleanser. This is the Éclat Premier Mousse, or the Brightening Cleansing Cream to Foam. I've actually already posted a YouTube short on this cleanser, so that's why I'm not really devoting that much time to it in this particular video. It does remind me a lot of the original Chanel Mousse cleanser. Even the textures are almost identical. So if you've used Chanel Mousse, then this new Éclat Premier cleanser is going to be very familiar. To me, the Éclat Premier cleanser maybe feels a touch more moisturizing, and I can sense a bit of a film on the skin after I use it. So I just have to spend a little bit more time rinsing if I really want to get that off, but some people might enjoy the moisturizing effect. Honestly, this is a little bit of an old school cleanser. It feels a lot like using a bar soap, or maybe more specifically a Syndet bar. So if you've ever used like Dove and how that kind of moisturizing skin feel is on your body, that's a lot like this cleanser and how it feels on the face. I have no issues using this cleanser. I think I just would have liked a more modern interpretation, or just like a new texture that Chanel haven't already used. Something more refined, maybe leaning into like a cream cleanser or a cream to foam without that kind of moussey shaving foam feel. Maybe along the lines of a Biologique Recherche texture would have been nice. We discussed pricing a little bit earlier, and I think something like this is for sure too expensive for what it is. And it's probably only going to suit people that really like a lathery soapy wash. Sometimes I'm in the mood to use a fairly old school cleanser like this, so that's why I sort of keep it in rotation. Just I wouldn't necessarily miss it. I wouldn't rebuy it if I end up finishing the tube, which I feel like will last forever. On the plus side, Chanel has made claims specifically being able to remove pollution particles and also UV filters, and I will definitely agree that it's effective at removing my sunscreen. However, you can't actually get it near your eyes, so it's not even truly suitable as like a full face cleanser. As far as ingredients go, Chanel have included the same feature ingredients as what's in the Milky essence that we discussed earlier, but I honestly don't think this matters too much in the cleanser. They don't seem to discuss any kind of clingy or depositing effect. Anyway, that's it for this video. It was supposed to be like a 10-minute thing, but I've just been sitting here rambling for far too long. I hope it has been helpful in breaking down some of the benefits of this product line, and I would absolutely definitely recommend the essence over the cleanser if you're only looking to try one product. I'm really keen to see what Chanel will release next as part of the Eclat Premier collection. I hope the serum, I feel like a serum would be great. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.